Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Kiss up to God. To God be the glory for all the wonderful works that He does. Thank you, God, for another do over, for another day to get it right, for life, health, and strength, for the brand new grace and brand new mercy that you allow us. We appreciate it. And God, if we have the opportunity to say, I'm sorry, allow us the opportunity because I'm sorry we'll restore and recover a whole lot of things. And we really need that right about now. So today, I'm coming on with more Black history. I'm coming on with, we'll think about January 6th was a coup. Simple as that. It was a coup. And, we're thinking that was the only coup. That's the first time it ever happened was January 6th. But it's not. It's not the first. There was a coup in 1898 in Wilmington, North Carolina, my home state. The American coup happened November the 10th in Wilmington, North Carolina in 1898. It tells the little known story of a deadly race massacre and carefully orchestrated insurrection in North Carolina, the largest city. It was like I said, 1898, which was Wilmington, the only coup known in history of the United States, striking fear of Negro rules, self discipline, white, self-described, white supremacists use intimidation and violence to destroy black politicians and economic power and overthrew Wilmington's democracy elections, multiple race government. Black residents were murdered and thousands were banished. The story of what happened in Wilmington was suppressed for decades until descendants and scholars began to investigate. Today, many of those descendants slash black and white seek the truth about this intentional burying of the history. It was deliberately covered up. It happened 150 years ago. For 150 years, no one was ever held accountable or responsible. Is that familiar? Is that familiar with nobody being held accountable or responsible for trying to overthrow the government and killing and hurting people? History repeats itself, correct? Um, Wilmington had bankers, doctors, lawyers, teachers. Black people were very successful in Wilmington, Delaware. Um, they tried to integrate. The black people was trying to be integrated. They was trying to integrate, and it's a story about it. If you need to see it, you can look it up. The railroad made it unprofitable. Cotton was also one of the largest export in the world. 56% of the Wilmington residents were black. Blacksmiths, carpenters, painters, black leadership that was educated, a real community. In 1843, when slavery was ended, Alex, he had his newspaper in North Carolina. He was a Negro. He was holding the blunt of the power because back then, the newspaper, it wasn't like now where we got our internet and all that, but newspaper was very popular back then. Black and white came together. It was called a fusion. Whether you know it or not, the Democrats didn't start out with a lot of black. It was the Republican and the white that made the fusion. These Democrats were white. So it seemed like mostly right now, most of the Democrats are black and most of the Republicans are white. It didn't start out that way. You had white and black called the fusion. They got together, and then you had the Democrats, which was the white supremacists back then in the 1800s. Russell Davis, George White was in Congress. The Democrats were Salmon, Davis, and Alcott. They led the coup. They were from the white. They had a white government union, and the white government union purpose was to reestablish in North Carolina the white supremacists of the white race. And they even went to President McKinley because they realized that something was going on. Because if you see the story, they said people had started coming in with guns and they knew something was getting ready to go on. They went to the President McKinley at the time, and he was worried about being reelected. And he knew that the people that was going to reelect him was white, because think about it, back then, a lot of black people weren't voting. So he did nothing about it. And they let him know. They marched down Market Street from 500 to 2,000 white men and children carrying guns. The paper, the paper said it was a bloody massacre in Wilmington. But they, of course, they said the black fired on the white. Of course, they changed things. New York Times and the Washington Post came to talk about it or to interview, and of course they met them at the train or however they did it, and gave them whatever they want and told them all these lies. And they print that black people fired on the white people. It was all in the news, and they know it wasn't like that. But this is what the dude does. What money does. One researcher said it was anywhere between 40 to 60 murder, but another researcher said it was in the hundreds that would murder. If you want to, you can go and read Thomas Dixon Jr. He wrote The Leopard Spot, and he wrote another book called The Klansman. And he talks about what happened in Wilmington. And they said they pushed bodies in rivers. Some of the bodies were, they had private funerals. Some of them are in unmarked graves. And right now they have a foundation in Wilmington where people go and they see where all of this happened at. And we think January 6th was the first coup, but it really wasn't. As I was stating yesterday, it's almost like every time that we really get stuff going on, like the Black Wall Street, and I was going to talk about that too, but I think a lot of us already know about Black Wall Street and how good black people were doing in that town, also in Oklahoma. And this is like the same thing, black people and like one of the main guys, because I want you to go and see it for yourself, because I was gonna like to give you names and tell you stuff like that, but some of these things you have to research for yourself so you can read it for yourself, because it was or either look at it for yourself, because it was difficult for me, because it just hurts your heart. It makes you so angry, especially when we were doing good or are doing good. And some of the men that were doing good could have passed for white. It's because the white men was sleeping with the black ladies, and they were producing these children that look white. So some of the things that they did, they could pass for white, and they didn't realize. Lena Horne was one of them. I ain't even gonna go into the start and to name people that are mixed that could pass for white. But anyway, he wanted to do things with Wilmington. He was very happy. He wanted to be in government, and they put him on a train, and they stood there as the train went to dare him to get off, because if he would have gotten off the train, they would have hung him. So these are the things that they have hidden from us. These are the things that they have tried to keep private, keep secret, because people want to know. That's why they say the descendants that, because the people that was talking when they were showing it were great-great-grandchildren. They want to know what happened to their ancestors, their great-great-grandmother. You can't just have a bunch of people and snuff them out and don't think that they have a line of family. And they wanted to know what happened, so that's why they brought that up. And this is just a small portion of things that I'm going to be coming on with, because there's a lot that has been hidden, that has been kept from us as a people, because they don't want us to know, because they want to bury it, and they can do all they want to. But see, they got to answer to God for everything that they have done, for all the stuff that they say. There are consequences. You don't think so, but they are consequences for everything that you do. And this is one of those where I'm sure they got their just reward when they call themselves get their just reward or however. I don't know, but I'm just saying. So I just want to come on with that today about the massacre and about the coup in Wilmington, Delaware in 1898. So January 6th was not the first. So if you think anybody needs to hear this, please share it with them. And please keep coming on because as I stated, I'm gonna be talking about Black history all month. And if it carries on more, then I'll just do more. But I just want some of these stories that have been hidden from us, some of these things that they feel like that's erased from history that we are finding out about. And I want to share. Okay. So thank you so much for coming on. My name is Jennifer Brooks. I am your Southern Belle, and I am on the right road now. And I'm gonna let y'all know what happened to some of my people. Okay. All right. Just keep tuning in and share and tell people to tune in. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I have a blessed night now. You hear? God bless.